Hello, a little bit of a different video today. Just going to show you how I would make a leather belt, because I'm going to make some leather belts for some of my wonderful work colleagues, and I'll show you how I do it. So it's quite a nice thing to make a little leather belt, or a leather belt, because they're quite nice gifts and useful, and they're not very difficult to make. So I'll show you how to make one. So first of all, I'll show you the tools that you need. So if I just angle this down here like this, let's show you what we need. So to make your leather belt, well, I've got ear protectors. That's because when I'm doing rivets, I don't like to have loud noises because it makes my ears ring. You need a cup of tea, obviously. You'll need a set of hole punchers like these, which have different size of hole punching. You will need a hammer. I've just got a little craft hammer here, but any kind of little hammer will do. Then you'll need a little set like this, which is a little riveting set. It's very exciting, it's very riveting. So a little riveting set like this, so that you can rivet the belt together. I just got this from eBay, it's not very expensive. So a little riveting set, very exciting. What else do you need? Some craft glue. So I've got this. This is Eileen Super Tacky. I'll show you what it is. It's this Eileen Super Tacky original, America's favourite craft glue. It's really nice, really good. So I use some of that, but I've got it in a little pot like that. What else do we need? A ruler. So a little ruler like this is helpful. And I've also got a bigger ruler like this, or you can just use a tape measure, but that's just quite handy when you're measuring the length of the belt. So that's quite a lot of stuff actually. You'll need a sharp knife. So I've just got these sharp craft knives because the leather is quite difficult to cut. Sharp pencil. A little brush for the glue. You need a little clamp. So I've got a little clamp like that. And the other thing I've got a little punch. Now this is just an optional extra. So this punch has got a nice little bicycle embossed there. So when I finish the belt, I'm just going to make some little nice bicycle imprints into the belt just as a little extra, but you haven't got to do that obviously. Right, so once you've got all the bits and bobs, what you need to do is to buy some bits to make the belts with. So what you're going to need is a leather blank. So I bought this, and this one is 25mm wide. Just double check I've got that. Yeah, 25mm wide. It's 3.5mm thick. It's quite thick because it has to be quite thick to be a nice strong belt, and it's 140 centimeters long. So I'll just bring it on a minute. See me a bit better. 140, so it's quite long. It's got to be long enough to go around your waist and obviously make a belt. And so 140 is more than enough. It's more than enough for me, and I'm pretty chunky, so 140 will be more than enough. So this is the leather blank, and then let's get into how to make the belt. So what you want to do is find, if you're making a belt for yourself or for a friend, is get them to find a belt that they can wear at the moment and fits them. This is one of my belts. And then ask if you can measure it. So basically this is my belt, and what I'm going to do is measure from the buckle right to the tip, and then that will tell me how long I need to make the belt, because obviously people got different waist sizes and it's tricky to make sure they fit. So get them to find a belt that they can wear, measure it from where the buckle is fitted to the tip of the belt, and then use that as your reference. And then you can buy your belt leather blank. Okay, so the next step, I'm going to bring this down like this, and I'll show you what the next step is. Alright, so the first thing is with your blank, I'll just get this one actually. You get this one. With your blank, when you buy it, it might not be completely square at the end. So all you've got to do is get your little ruler, which has got a nice right angle on it, and I'm just going to neatly square it off like this, so it's just not all at an angle. There we are, so that's nice and square at the end. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from this end, and I'm going to measure 7 centimeters, and that is where I'm going to fold it over like that, and the buckle's going to go in there. So I'm just going to measure, and I'm going to measure it on the back, on the non kind of posh side, because I don't want to be kind of drawing all over the front of the belt. So I'm going to measure 7. And that is where I'm going to be folding over the belt like that. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is just to make this a nice neat job, because that's going to be folded over and you'll see that on the back of your belt. So I'm just going to cut off the corners like this. Okay, and that just makes a neater end to the belt. Right, so now I've got the 7 centimeters folded over, like so. Now what I need to do now is cut a little slot in the belt for the belt buckle pin to go through. So just at the fold, where I've folded it, that's where I need to make the slot, and I need to make it 2 centimeters long. So it's going to be 1 centimeter each side of that fold. So I'm just going, this is a 25mm width belt, so I'm just going to put a mark at 12.5. I'm just going to draw, and I'm going to do this on the outside of the belt because this is just a bit easier. I'm going to draw a 2mm, not 2mm, 2 centimeter just like that, 2 centimeter little line. I'm going to get my craft knife and I'm going to cut down that 2mm, getting all my units, cut down that 2 centimeter slot. It's got to go right down to the bottom of the leather because you want it to be a full 2 centimeters. There we go. So when you fold it, there we are, that's where the slot will be. Okay, exciting. Now what I've got next is my hole puncher. So what I need to do now is make a hole. So I've got the fold, that's all there. So I need to make a mark about 1.5 centimeters in from the end in the middle. So I'll just show you this as I So I've just made a little mark 1.5 centimeter, 15mm in the middle of the leather, and that's where I'm going to put my rivet to rivet the belt together at the end, to rivet the kind of buckle on. So once I've made that mark, I'm going to get my hole punch, and then I'm going to punch the first hole in the leather. So it's going to go like that. Now I need to get the other hole in the other side of the bit here, so I can put the rivet through. So I'm just going to keep that fold like that, and use that first hole as a guide. And then I can just finish off the second hole. So these two holes here will line up, and that's why I'm going to put a little rivet. So that's now nearly ready for the buckle. So I've got a buckle. Let me find the buckle. Where's my buckles? Here's a buckle. This is a belt buckle. You just buy it. Now when you buy the belt buckle, what you've got to do is measure the width of the belt leather and just have the belt buckle just a little bit wider than the leather, so it just goes on nicely, but not too wide so it kind of slops around. So you can just get it just a little bit wider than the leather that you're going to use. Right, nearly ready to start putting things together, but we've got to wait, make one more thing. Now the one more thing is the loop that the belt will tuck into once it goes, when you put it on. So imagine the belt goes like this through the hole, and then has to go through that little loop there, which is just a nice little loop. Now what I'm going to do here is make one of those out of leather. So because the leather is longer than I need, because it's 140 and I only need about 112, I have got some extra length on the other end. So not on the end I've been doing all the preparation work for the buckle, on the other end. And what I'm going to do is cut off a length that I can use to make the loop. So the first thing, again, I'm just going to square up by using my ruler as a right angle, square up the leather. Like so. And then I'm going to measure 10 centimeters along. This is going to give me enough to make the loop. So I'm going to measure 10 and then use the ruler as a right angle just to get it nice and straight. And I'm going to cut that leather. That's 10 centimeters. Still got plenty of belt left. That's all going to be fine. Right. Now the next thing is that is too thick, really, to make a loop. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that exactly in half and have two pieces. So I'm having two loops I can make. So because it's 25mm thick, I'm just going to mark 12.5. Join up the dots. There we go. So now my leather has got a line down the middle where I can cut it in half. So let's just now carefully cut this in half. There we go. So now I've got my two pieces which are 10 centimeters long, and these are going to make my loops. Now to make the loop, what I'm going to need is my special Aleene's Turbo Tacky glue and a little brush. just going to get maybe about 1 centimetre that side. Make sure you get a nice good coating of this glue, and then that's going to stick onto there, so again about 1 centimetre. Like that. And then you can bring those two together. And then you need your clamp. I'm just going to clamp those together like so. Just wipe off any excess, make sure it's all lined up. There we go. That's going to be my loop for the belt. Now you need to leave that to dry for a little bit, so I'm going to leave that for about an hour before doing it, because I want that glue to be nice and secure. So the little clamp like that will just hold it together. So I'm going to come back in an hour, because I'm going to need that to be dry before we do anything else, and then so I'll come back in an hour and show you the next step. Okay, the belt loops are now, belt loop is dry. So I'm going to do a few more things before we start constructing the buckle mechanism thingy. Now first thing is I'm going to personalise the belt, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my little bicycle stamp, and I'm going to put that little stamp on both sides of this bit where the buckle goes. So making sure I get it the right way up. So first of all I'm going to go mark 12.5. I'm going to go quite near the rivet so it can be seen. So 12.5 there. I'm going to put my earmuffs on. I'm going to get my little punch. Make sure it's the right way up. There we go. Got my little bicycle there, and then that's going to go like that. So I'm going to do another one next to that rivet there. Again, just mark 12.5. Like that. There's another one just there. Right, now the next thing is to start putting things together, including the buckle. So let me just choose the buckle. So that's, there it is. So this is where you've got to do a bit of construction and be careful that you get things in the right orientation. And you might want to ask me how I know to be careful here, because I've just learned through bad experience not making mistakes. So what we need to do is put the buckle in, which will be like that, and we also need to put the loop in. So just grab a loop. There we go. Which is one of these. Now you need the loop. Imagine that's the belt with the buckle like that. You need the loop on this bit. So if I just put that through, that loop needs to be like that. So that's now through, and then you've got to get your belt buckle the right way up. So That's how it closes. So I'm going to poke that through the come here. Through the little slot that I cut, and then that can go under. Let's put that in again. And now it's all starting to come together, because that's going to close like that, and then I can rivet that, but I need to get this, so you've got to be careful. So I've got that loop next to the buckle like that, otherwise it's not going to work. So that's all good. Now, as little belt and braces, before I do the riveting, I'm going to put some PVA, or this Eileen's high tacky stuff, on the bond as well, because what I want to do, I want it to be riveted, but I just want a bit of extra security. So what I'm going to do, get me glue, and I'm going to just around where the rivet is. In fact, it's easier to do this with my finger, so there we go. It's easier to spread it out. It's just around where the rivet's going to go, just a bit PVA, and that's going to then just give me a little bit of extra protection to make that really solid. Okay, so now just checking everything, that's going to work. So let's put it on the glue. So the next thing is to put the rivet. You have to make sure you get the right size rivet. Now the rivet has to go, if I just poke it through from the underside. It's supposed to be a little bit fiddly. There you go. Poke it through from the underside, and then it will go through the hole like this, and it should protrude by about 1 mil, or maybe just a bit less on the other side, so you've got something to bang it onto. Now I'm going to go over to my little anvil thing here. I've got a little vise, but I'm going to use it as an anvil just here, and then I'm going to get my riveting thingy bobbly. Here it is. So that's going to go down. I'm going to put the other end of the rivet on, like that, and then put my muffs on with my ear muffs. I'm going to give it a good tonk. Right, so now what I've got the rivet in, I've got the loop, the buckle's the right way around, that's all looking good. So I'm going to leave that for a bit, that end, that's pretty good, but that PVA is just going to add an extra little bit of protection on there. And the next bit is to actually measure the length of the belt that I need based on the measurement of the belt of the person I'm making it for. So that's quite easy. So let's have a look how long this has got to be. So this one's going to be, needs to be 112. So this is where I've got to measure the belt from there to there. Let me just clean my desk a minute because I need a bit more room, and I'll come back in just a tick while I've been. Okay, so you can measure 112 from where the buckle is attached to the tip of the belt. So I'm just going to use my long ruler. I'm going to make the marks on the underside rather than the outside. So put that on. So that's going to be, that's 60. So I need to add another 52. from there. Yeah, come here. I'm going to do a tiny bit more just in case. So that is now the length and belt. Now I'm just going to double check that because it's always best to measure twice and cut once, as they say. So I'm just going to double check my measurements. So start from there. I don't want to just cut it completely wrong to do all the work. So 60 is to there, and then into there. 52, 112, 52. Yep. So now I've got my measurements correct. Next step is to cut the belt to length. Now again, I'm going to use my ruler as a square edge so that my line is nice and straight. And then I get a nice straight edge. There we go. So now I've got a bit of spare leather, I can use something else. Now this isn't quite finished because obviously that you can't use that as the end of the belt. You need to have a point. Now I do find it easier to make a point rather than a curve at the end because I usually to cut points. So this is how I cut the. Wait a minute, dropped my pins. Wait a minute. So this is how I cut a point. Just put those back in there. Right, so because this is 25mm thick, I'm going to make a mark 12.5 right at the end of the leather. So that's, and then I'm going to make another mark 3.5 centimeters along that side and 3.5 on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to join up that 3.5 to the middle, 3.5 to the middle, and I'll end up with hopefully a nice even triangle. Bit of maths there. There we go. So now I've drawn a nice even triangle, so all I've got to do next is get my knife. I'm going to still use the ruler to help, is to cut that triangle like this. There we are, and now I've got a nice neat equal triangle for the end of the belt. So this belt is now very nearly finished. Now the next step is to put the holes in the belt. Now to do this, I've taken the belt that I'm making this person's belt for, and I've measured on their belt where their holes were, and they told me, you know, as well where they pretty much want the holes to be. So now I'm going to start at the far end of the belt, and I'm going to make the marks on the belt to where I'm going to make these holes. So I know that on this belt the holes need to start 28 centimeters from the tip of the belt. So let's just measure 28 from the end of the belt So that's the end of the belt there. I'll just angle it down a little bit. There we are, so I'm going to measure 28. So that's where the holes will start, and they're going to finish at 18 from the end. So now I know that from here to here is where the hole's going to be. Right, so what I'm going to do next is measure 12.5 there. Measure 12.5 there, because I want these holes to be in the middle of the belt. Let's do a faint line across. Now that is 18 centimeters, so I need to work out. I think I'm going to do every 3 centimeters I'm going to put a hole. So let's mark every 3, so you get 6 holes. So you've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So there's going to be 6 holes. And all I've got to do now is get my get the hole punch. Try and get these in the middle. So that's the first one. That hasn't come through. Hang on, just get that out. Here. That's the first one. Second one, and then so I think my hole punch is getting a bit clogged up. So for the third one, it is getting clogged up. Come here. Oh, that's better. Five. It's got a bit clogged up. Six, and then the last one. Getting clogged up. Seven. There we are. So those are the holes in the belt. So this belt is now working. So I can just give it a test. There we go. So the last thing I'm going to do before this is finished is I'm just going to give it a little coating of dubbing just to seal all the leather and just make it nice and supple, and then that is a completed belt. And if Pev, if you're watching, this is your belt, so I hope you like it. Okay, so I'm just going to get my dubbing. Just give it a little light coating. Just to finish it all off. Just ordinary dubbing. I'm just going to work that into the leather, and then this job's done. So just using my hands. Just work that in. Gives it a nice little shine as well. Make sure I do both sides. Over. So I hope this belt will give many years of service. So here we go. Nearly there. And once I've got this dubbing in, I'm just going to get a soft cloth and just rub it in a bit further. Get rid of any excess. And then that's it. Last thing is pack it up as a nice little gift. Bob's your uncle. There we are. So what I'm going to do, I'll give it a little wipe down and then I'll show you the finished belt in just 2 seconds. Okay, here we go, all done. Belt's now finished. That's the buckle, all finished. I've given it a nice little coating of dubbing just to work into the leather, keep it nice and conditioned. Pushy. And it's all nice and finished. So all I'm going to do now is just roll it up nicely so that it's ready to be worn. Here we are, and then I can just package this up. Like so. Gonna get a nice bit of string. Just gonna tie it up. Come here. And there we go, one belt. So I hope that was useful, and just a nice little gift that you can give to somebody. Should last for a long time, and there we are. Thanks for watching.